I love doing what other doctors say is impossible.
Right, because you get the worst cases. You're saying that someone comes to you because they've probably had multiple surgeries. They've been on, I remember, I would go in and get is it cortisone
shots,
and I'd feel great for like 3 days or a week, and then it'd be come right back. And this was at Stanford. This was like good stuff and with good doctors that would just shoot you and be like, come back later, and that's going to help.
The cortisone conversation is kind of a soapbox of mine, if we want to go there.
Yeah, let's jump on that one.
Cortisone is interesting because, yes, it's a steroid medication, and it's really amazing at knocking down inflammation that comes from, again, certain types of inflammation, not nerve inflammation. And while it can knock out inflammation for a period of time, there's a few things that are going to happen in the background. One, because it didn't actually do anything to solve your issue, it just took away the pain. Most people will now go live their lives in a way that's going to aggravate the pain and make their condition possibly worse, because what we have to remember is that pain can be our friend because it's feedback for us.
Sure.
If it hurts to move a certain way, it's because your body says, hey, if you go any further, you're going to injure this more.
Sure.
You take away the pain signal, you can likely make things a lot worse, right?
Totally.
The other thing that it's going to do is going to tank your immune system. It's also going to deplete minerals from your body, which is going to make a lot of other processes really, really hard, because most of us are walking around mineral deficient anyway. A lot of people makes them gain weight, and then it can also make certain other conditions worse. So if you actually put it in a joint, it'll actually cause accelerated degeneration of the bone that you put it at.
So it's part of Western medicine, which is just like mask the symptom, get them out of pain, and the idea is we'll see you back in 6 months or a year, but you're not really under
You're basically holding this patient's hand until they're a candidate for surgery, and that's the most meaningful thing that these doctors have to offer patients.
Got it. So you like to solve the real difficult problems.
I love being able to see a patient come into my office and say, my doctor thinks that I'm crazy for doing this. And I'm like, well, we'll see who's crazy in 6 months when you're feeling better.
Yeah.
And, I do get some of the worst situations, right? Because 9 times out of 10, if a person is in a mild situation, or if they tried the cortisone and it worked, they're not going to be seeking these alternative options. And this is where I would really like to see the tide turn, that we get this type of medicine out there to the public in a meaningful enough way that they think, oh, you know what? I did get a shoulder injury. The first thing that I'm going to do is try PRP because I actually want to heal it better than my body's going to do in the first place, right? And that we actually leave surgery as a very, very last resort for those cases that absolutely require it.
This is like a left field question, but to what extent does the insurance people jump on this and say, we love this? Because my sense of it is they just say, nope, we're not going to cover it because it's experimental. But is there any movement from the insurance companies saying, yeah, we support this? Or still they're just in the dark saying, don't do it?
It's on both ends. There's certain situations where insurance has started covering certain birth tissue injections, or using things like amniotic allograft as a viable option to treat burn wounds, right? Placing that membrane over top, which is really cool. There are certain doctors that will do things like bill for bone marrow stem cells or even PRP when they're within their surgeries. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think we're there yet. And the caveat to that is, okay, stem cell-based regeneration, it is incredibly safe. Most patients are going to be a good candidate for it. Do we really want to have the insurance companies now set hoops and bars that we have to jump through or meet in order to receive it, right?
Right.
I'm sure most people in the traditional medical model have experienced the frustration where their doctor prescribes them a very reasonable medication, and even though the doctor prescribed it and it was appropriate for their case, their insurance company still doesn't want to cover it.
Yeah, because it seems like a lot of people, I have a friend that runs a hospital in Tijuana called CHIPSA, and it seems like a lot of people have to go out of the country just to get this type of kind of cutting edge stuff. Is that still the case, or are there more places in the US that do it?
There's a lot of places in the US that are doing cutting edge, but there's also a lot of places outside the US that can do just a little bit more. Because even though we can do a lot of cutting edge here, we still do have a lot of kind of strongholds in place that really do tie our hands. And the tricky thing with that is not necessarily that, okay, it's going to be slower to move forward with the patients, but it's also going to be slower to move forward with the research. And the US seems to be the type of country that wants to be ahead of everything, but we're really lacking in that because it's just strictly the way that our hands are tied. And the hands are tied, why? Or who's tying the hands? I would say follow the money in this situation because what happens is you have this somewhat incestuous medical model, insurance model, FDA, where the pharmaceutical company, the FDA, they're in each other's pockets, right?
Sure.
And you have these insurance models that are going to feed into the prescriptions, feed into the
Right.
surgeries.
Right,
Well,
right,
the
right.
FDA is going to be working with the drugs, is going to be working with the devices, right? All the
Sure.
things that are used in that. So if we're following the money, well, there's no money in me getting your shoulder better with stem cells.
Right, because you're cured, right? You're
Right.
good. You don't need
You're
any
not
more.
going to need any hardware in your shoulder. You're not going to need any medications to manage your
Right.
pain. You're not a good candidate for their model now.
Wow, so you fight this battle essentially. I mean, I think consumers who are in pain, for the most part, want a solution. And I feel like we're sold typically either a pill or surgery. In my case, it was take a pill, take a surgery, take a cortisone shot. But you're saying that you're fighting this bigger fight between like who's going to cover this stuff, and do you really want to get better, or are you feeding into this system of just keep them slightly sick and just a little bit in pain so you can keep the process going?
Yeah, and I don't even think we need to put our tinfoil hats on to stretch that, right? I think
Totally,
that
totally.
most people who have been in the system realize that the system is set up for that specifically.
Right, totally. So somebody who has an injection, when do they typically start to feel better if it's going to work? Is it immediate? Is it over time? I mean, the stem cells, I would imagine, have to do their thing to heal it, but how long does that process take?
The healing cycle takes roughly 6 to 12 weeks. And
Got
this
it.
is the same healing cycle regardless if you go for a surgery, get stem cells, get a cut. It is what it is. Some people start to notice changes within the first month, and that just has to do with the part of the healing cycle that they're in, whereby the body starts to really take down and control that chronic inflammation that was there and start to lay down that new tissue.
Got it.
The actual cellular changes are in that 6 to 12 week period, and some people can even experience changes anywhere from 6 months to a year. We do actually have research that shows the stem cells can continue to regenerate for that long.
Got it.
Which is really, really amazing because, well, not only are you getting an immediate kind of effect where we're reducing your pain because of the inflammation, but now it's going to heal even greater over time. And this is the other cool part of that, is that, well, we have to switch from our thinking, right? Because the traditional model, you think, okay, you take this pill, you're going to feel better for a little bit, and then it's going to come back.
Right.
Not with regenerative medicine, right? The healing that you get is yours to keep. Just like if you've gotten a cut on your arm, a scrape on your knee, something else, once that healed, it didn't just open back up again a year or two
Right,
later.
you're good.
You didn't lose that healing.
Interesting.
Whatever we heal with PRP, with stem cells, whatever that process is that occurs, the healing that you get is yours to keep.